Hi, my name is Austin Wu, and this is my experience at Stewart Hall High School.
In the beginning of my final year at Stewart Hall High School, as a senior, I thought I knew it all. I felt that I was mature enough to take on the world. Although I believed this to be true, I was in store for an experience that would dramatically alter how I thought and perceived myself. In the beginning of my senior year, I abused the trust and freedom that I had earned by bringing drugs to a school event, which for the better taught me the importance of maturity, responsibility, selflessness, and wise freedom. Stewart Hall High School, the first all-boys high school in the Sacred Heart Network, was founded in 2000. Stewart Hall High School's history dates back to 1800, when St. Madeleine Sophie Barat lived in France and founded the religious order of the Sacred Heart. Since its start, Stewart Hall High School has embraced the Sacred Heart education, placing a heavy emphasis on community involvement, service, critical thinking, and self-development through their 5 goals. Among these goals, I experienced in depth a personal growth in an atmosphere of wise freedom. Following their goals and criteria, Stewart Hall High School's emphasis on wise freedom teaches students how to show concern and, begin quote, respect for themselves and others, promote self-discipline, accountability, and responsible decision-making, and help students grow self-confidence to deal realistically with their gifts and limits, end quote. During the first quarter of my senior year, our school held its second annual camping trip at Sugarloaf Day Ridge Park with all 4 classes. Because this was a school event, supervision was lenient. My teachers, friends, parents, and my community trusted me to make the right choices. This freedom and trust, which I had spent 3 years earning, was all washed away by my selfish acts. Despite warnings not to do anything illegal and reckless, I brought marijuana edibles and illegal substance and consumed them. I did not think about the gravity of my choices, and I got away with it for a few weeks, but the chickens came home to roost. Roughly 4 weeks after, Mr. Woodard, my wrestling coach, came up to me and said, "I know what you did and I am disappointed in you. The cat is out of the bag." In that moment, the weight of my choices pressed on me. The disappointment in my mom's face when she came to pick me up is a look that I would never like to see again. Her facial expression wasn't petrifying. It amplified my feelings of regret and made me aware of the wrongdoings that I had done. I pondered the situation and I realized I had failed my parents, the lessons they instilled in me, and what I had worked so hard to gain, their trust. All from the single act of what I thought would be fun, I destroyed the relationship between my trust and community, destroyed the trust between my parents and me, and ruined my reputation, my honor. Foucault, in his book Discipline and Punishment, The Birth of Prison, talks about self-control and the reason why we make certain choices. He states that, begin quote, "You self-regulate because you think and feel that others will judge you. You are never certain of their thoughts, but you are quite clear about your fear," end quote. By choosing to bring drugs within my community, I failed to self-regulate because I was selfish and I stopped caring about those around me. I failed to think about my parents, teachers, and everything they gave me. In a sense, I had rejected this fear and acted egotistically. In that moment, I also realized that I wasn't some kid anymore. I couldn't blame my bad influences. It was my fault and my fault alone, especially for this sort of behavior. I was given freedom and I had abused it. Sure, I was a teenager, but I could no longer hide behind the shadow of my parents or shift the blame to someone. I could not go running back to mom and dad whenever I had made a mistake. I had to be responsible and accountable. I needed to own up to my actions. While I completely regret my actions, I am also glad that this happened. It's a wake-up call. It's reminding me that maturity and accountability aren't based on numbers. These qualities are based on my choices and the way I act, and thus far it reflects that I have poor morals. In Byron's article, The 10 Building Blocks of Catholic Social Teachings, Byron writes about how our principles alter our future. Byron states that, begin quote, "Principles once internalized lead to something. A principled person always has a place to stand, knows where he or she is coming from and likely to end up. Principles always lead the person who possesses them somewhere, for some purpose to do something or to choose not to," end quote. Byron's teaching showed me that my morals and principles aren't completely in line. This horrible experience at school continues to haunt me. Everything from how others began to view me to the amount of respect I lost for myself. This mistake often runs through my mind. After that experience, people began to view me as a delinquent. I wasn't a screw-up though, and the treatment I received following reaffirmed to me that I didn't want to fall down a path that I couldn't return from. This word still reminds me of what I learned from Mr. Woodard in psychology about the self-fulfilling prophecy, that this, begin quote, "prediction directly or indirectly causes itself to become true due to positive feedback between belief and believer in an individual," end quote. At the beginning of this trip, I wanted to do something reckless, and that is exactly what I did. In order to make this right, I need to believe and really want to fix what I've damaged, and that starts with me believing that I can. In the back of my mind, I am still afraid that I can mess up, and while I hate this feeling completely, it has also changed my perspective. Making this mistake at my school camping trip reinforced my understanding of Goal 5. In order to have wise freedom, you need to be accountable for your actions and have discipline, and be responsible in your own decision making. In the real world, there are no redos. Before you want to rashly do something, you have to think it through because there are dire and immediate consequences to every action you decide to make.